Well, this is very, very exciting. This is what you guys have been waiting for. We have three gentlemen about to join us, and I want you to give them a big, big welcome, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, here come Chris Evans, Anthony Mackie, and Sebastian Stan. All right. Wow, that must feel good. It always feels good to hear that, right? Well, welcome, guys. Everybody's been busy. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, you guys just finished up a little movie you've been working on. Is that right?
Yeah. We just finished a couple days ago. Very exciting.
Yeah, and you guys know what they're talking about from, will it be 2018 when we see Infinity War, right?
That's right.
What for you, this is, I think, your seventh or eighth film that you'll be Captain America in, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Does that make it easier for you, or is that, does that not really affect the challenge?
Affect the challenge. I mean, it certainly becomes, you're very familiar with the role. You're familiar with the people you're working with, so the working experience gets a bit easier. But the pressure's still there. You want to make sure you continue to make the fans happy and try to outdo the last film.
And it's great, from the comics, obviously, Winter Soldier started in Captain America, the Falcon started in Captain America comics, so it's great to have these guys as part of the mythology, and they're very, very close to the heart of the character, too. The friendships that you have and rivalry at one point sort of define your character in a lot of ways, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
For you guys, what's that like, Sebastian, for you, with the character, I mean, you're the one of all these guys who got to be a villain first on screen. Talk a little bit about bringing that character to life and where it's at.
Well, it's always a nice guessing game for me with how they, where they're going to take him, I guess, because maybe he'll always be on that edge, sort of can go left or right. So that's always fun to play. But yeah, I mean, it was, I felt lucky that they took the story in that direction, and then obviously, like, it's a big part of our storyline in the comic books, and so, it needed to be explored.
Great. And then, Anthony, I know that your character, Falcon, it means a lot to you because of the history. I mean, it's a very important character in history of comic book publication. The first African-American superhero.
Yeah, and just, the Falcon represents a lot of different aspects of our society today that I feel sometimes can be misinformed and misused. I mean, the fact that he's a military vet, that's something that I'm very proud of as well. The fact that he was a counselor for soldiers at the VA hospital, before he teamed up with Cap, is something that I'm proud of as well, and something that we added to make him, more of a relatable, stronger character.
And then, Chris, in addition to being Captain America, you've been in 7 other comic book films as well, for almost 14.
Have I?
Yes, you have. It's actually more than anybody else.
More than, what do you mean, like anybody else?
Anybody else.
Than anybody else?
I think so, like 14.
Fucking A.
You've been like 5 heroes, right?
Because you got Scott Pilgrim, you got Snowpiercer, you got The Losers, you got 2 Fantastic Fours,
right?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, right.
Oh, the Ninja Turtles.
Of course, yeah.
Oh.
Hey, you're impressed.
Right.
Oh, you're going to hear about that one. All right.
I was really excited about that one. I love Casey Jones.
Absolutely. Yeah. But, I mean, that's something, obviously, you didn't set out to do. It's kind of a happy coincidence, but I guess that shows how big comic books are as IP in Hollywood these days.
Yeah, I mean, they're great source material. I mean, they obviously have a built-in fan base, but they're made into films because they have such good characters and story arcs and wonderful writing, and it only makes sense.
And one of the things that you've gotten to do is work with a lot of great directors, obviously, and I know that directing is important to you. You've already directed a film and aspire to do more. What was that directing experience like for you, and did it affect your acting at all?
It's challenging. It's tough to be in it while you're directing, You certainly see a lot of your bad habits. When you're in the editing room, it's tough to kind of, oh, God, I suck. But it was fun. I liked the responsibility. I'm eager to do it again. The first time was a real learning process, and yeah, I think after I start doing a play in a couple months in New York, and then I think when I'm done. Oh, great! All right. And I think when I'm done with that, you know, I'm going to start looking for another script to direct.
Yeah, it seems like a next natural step for you. That's fantastic. And Anthony, this, I don't know if you probably did the math on this, but this is your 15th anniversary on screen because 8 Mile, this is the 15th anniversary of 8 Mile.
Yeah.
Baba Doc.
I was like, yo. I still rap. Come on, man, let's go. Come on, go. We're gonna reenact the battle. That would be funny.
Mom's spaghetti. That's great. Well, and you know, so many great directors you've worked with as well, and projects like Hurt Locker. I mean, for you, what do you see as the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity that you have as an actor right now? What's when you look at yourself now and the things you've done, the things ahead, what are the things you're working on, or maybe what are the things that you're most excited about?
Well, for me, the biggest challenge is once you get in this realm of, you know, Marvel superhero movies, it's harder for you to be considered for those smaller independent movies. Because they're like, oh, you're a movie star now. You wouldn't want to do this, you know, but a vast majority of my career in the films that I've done that have been recognized started off as small films, you know. Half Nelson with Ryan Gosling was like a $2 million movie, you know, but it went on. Hurt Locker was a small movie. You know, nobody was fighting for that movie because there was no money and we were in the desert, you know. We were the only idiots that took it, so, but it worked out. So, you know, it's that's one thing that I've been aware of when I see certain movies and I call my agent, because I always yell at my agent. And I'm like, why wasn't I considered for that? You're on your last leg. I love yelling at my agent.
Let's call him now.
Right now, I'll call him.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Sebastian, I really enjoyed The Martian, and I was going to ask you, working with Ridley Scott, how was that? I mean, such a fascinating director.
It was like walking in the desert in the dark. No, I mean, because he doesn't give any direction whatsoever. Like, he just leaves you completely alone, so you don't know if you're doing well or not. And maybe there's something about that kind of keeps you on your toes, I guess. Or, but it was a great opportunity. You know, always trying to kind of surround yourself with good people and that will sort of inspire you to be better. That's kind of what you go for.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, all three of you have stage experience. I know it's important to all three of you. And with these movies, I don't know that it would naturally occur to people, but it seems to me that would make it easier to be in films that have a lot of green screen, because there's empty spaces and you have to project that there's things there that you don't see, which happens all the time on stage. Do you think that might be beneficial for you, or is it a completely different experience?
I would say that I think the most beneficial tool you can develop to apply to green screen is just having a really vivid imagination as a child. You know, as a kid, that's where you're really kind of, you know, soaked in make-believe and just pretending, you know, it's like a group of Muppet Babies or something. You know, you're really just... You're just playing and you're having fun. So if you had a really vivid imagination as a kid, I think that's what gets you through those green screen days.
You know, one of the things that fans talk about a lot, you know, with the changes in corporate Hollywood, you know, with Fox and Disney and such, there's a chance to see potentially someday the Avengers versus the X-Men. I wonder is that something that's it's kind of fun to think about, or with a Fantastic Four, and you could play two characters.
I know, like a little Parent Trap, right? I would love that. I really would. That would
awesome.
Be a lot of fun. I doubt they'd ever let me do that, though.
Yeah. Well, there's the Invaders, too, and that's two of the members of the Human Torch and Captain America. So you'd be set.
Recently, I happened to be sitting next to Hugh Jackman at this...
Wow, all right, here we go.
So...
Wow.
I didn't know what other awkward thing I could talk about, but to be like, am I gonna see you soon? I don't know. And but he said a couple things to me, and I'll just leave it at that, because I feel like otherwise I'm gonna get get into trouble with somebody. But
You know, you just lit things like
I know.
Sebastian.
So think about
What are
that.
you doing?
No, but he, I asked him because I kept thinking, I was like, he said whether or not that was Logan was supposed to be the last Wolverine thing or whatever, and it's, he said to me what I think he publicly said out there, which was like he's been thinking about it, and it's on his mind. So I don't know. He may be.
Oh, Sebastian.
I think Sebastian. I think phone's off, please. Please, can you rewind the last 15 seconds?
Right?
Twitter just broke. Way to go. Awesome. Well, let's keep that going. So Justice League. How about you guys fight the Justice League? Maybe we could do.
Who is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Rewind the last 35 seconds. Record over that.
This just in. Sebastian Stan says X-Men versus Avengers and Justice League. What is that? Okay. Awesome. You mentioned the camaraderie on the set and working with the same people over a period of time. I got to be on a couple of the sets with you guys over the years, and it seems like everyone really genuinely enjoys each other's company. For you, is there a friendship for any of you, a friendship or a connection or a mentor that you found through the Marvel movies that you would point to as being especially important to you?
Sure. I mean, I guess it's kind of it's real low-hanging fruit to say Downey. I mean, he's been he's such a wonderful guy and so talented and so experienced and so supportive, and he's always been in my corner. I've always felt supported by him, and he really brings everybody in to the group and makes sure everyone feels welcome, and especially on this last one. I always try to, no matter what it feels like for me, I try to imagine what it feels like for him, because he really did start this, and he really is so irreplaceable. Nobody can ever be Iron Man. That's not nobody. It's not a role like a Superman or a Batman that can kind of find different incarnations. No one can touch it. No one can. And I wonder what that feels like to kind of come to the end of the road, and I think he must be going through a whole cocktail of emotions, because he really, on this last film, has gone so far out of his way to really bring, you guys know, when Downey's on set during lunch breaks, he makes sure everyone goes. It's called the Downey lunch. Downey has his own separate, caterer. It's a really nice spread. It's quite lovely.
Really nice. Really nice.
It's really nice.
You cooked a whole goat.
It's really beautiful.
Just a goat.
But he'll bring everyone over, and I can only imagine what it might feel like to be someone who's coming into the Avengers world for the first time, or playing one of the supporting roles in another franchise, and maybe feeling a little intimidated, because I feel intimidated still sometimes, and he just really just opens his arms, and God, it sounds so cheesy, but he makes it a family, and none of this would happen without him, and so the easy answer for me is Downey.
And tweet.
Send.
What about you guys? Anybody that you would point to, or maybe experience?
I don't know. I love, for me at least, I love coming back, because now over the years, like, it's seemingly like we always pick up where we left off. A year goes by, maybe we don't all see each other, but it never seems out of step, with everyone, and you just don't get that on every movie set, I guess.
I would say these two guys, and not because they're here, because they know I would tell them if I hated them. But I pretty much primarily talk to you two more than, and we talk, if not daily, every other day, like friends. Because a lot of times you do movies, that's when your best buds, the movie wraps, and they change their number. It's like, yo, you're not gonna text me that new number, dog? I don't get, fake friends, all right. So, these are the two cats. If they call me and tell me they need bail money, I got them. Hey, that's legit. That's legit. Think about it. Most of your friends won't bail you out.
It's true, isn't it? It really is true. For you, Captain America is one of those characters that he's more than a superhero because he just what's encompassed in his values and his history and the heritage of the character all the way back to 1941. Is that a wind at your back, or is that even more pressure for you? Like, is it easy for you to connect with that, or does it feel like a little overwhelming?
No, it's wonderful. I mean, it's so nice. Sometimes, I mean, I've played not so savory characters in the past, and it's you got to be in a really nasty headspace, and you can't help but take some of that home with you, and it can feel like a little bit of a storm cloud, but playing Cap is just it's such a nice energy to try and encompass every day, and you can't help but try and compare it to your own life and find kind of analogous circumstances where you can live up to the person you try to portray each day. No, it's a blessing. I love it.
Fantastic.
So you walk around every day thinking you're Captain America. Everybody heard that, right? All right.
He doesn't walk, he runs.
He runs, yeah. Like you go to the grocery store and you're like, isn't this not a fresh enough produce? I'm Captain America.
I would say I walk around kind of comparing myself, like what would Cap buy? Don't get the ice cream, get the broccoli.
That's awesome. Apple pie. Sebastian, do you have, since your character is a little more fearsome and intimidating on screen, do you ever have youngsters come up to you and aren't quite sure what to make of it?
No one ever takes me as a villain, so I don't really, I have to like try and change that. But no, it's always very humbling. I don't know. I mean, some people ask me about Anthony, which is always, something I kind of have a face for, but yeah, it's great. I don't know.
It's fantastic. And then, so no one's throwing shields at you, like when you're walking down the street? Because we can arrange that. There's a lot of shields here.
I'm sure, yeah. Not yet. So let's do that later.
And I suppose there's not much we can say about Infinity War, right? I mean, because
it's a war of infinite proportion.
That's not the running time, though.
That's it.
What, you started to say something?
Oh, no, I was going to defend Sebastian. I was going to say he wasn't a villain. He's a victim, really.
Exactly.
Really? It's not his fault. He's brainwashed. I have a soft spot.
And Infinity War, like obviously the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Let's just get back to the subject.
Go back to what we're talking about.
With Infinity War, the Guardians, did you guys get to hang out with them much or not so much?
What can we say? What do people know?
No, we hung out a lot on set.
People
we had
know.
a good time.
Oh, yeah, the trailer's out. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Guardians
Remember?
are in it. Okay, yeah.
Trailer.
All right, yeah.
It's a trailer. Thor looks at him and goes, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
That was a good Thor, by the way.
Yeah, he really grumbles those lines out.
I'm Chris Hemsworth. Love that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, they're great. I mean, that was the best part of this movie, is that you really it really was, for the first time for me, feeling like the first few movies, it almost feels like it's happening to somebody else. You kind of feel like you're watching it happen, but you're not actually a part of it. And this was kind of the first movie where you actually felt like you had a seat at the table and you belonged, and it was so nice to have all these other franchises that you've watched and admired come to a set where you're like, oh man, I belong here, and all these great people are part of a movie that we're all doing together, and it was just wonderful, because all those franchises, I mean, let's be honest, Marvel doesn't miss. They haven't missed yet. Like they're batting 1,000. I don't know how they do that. No, they don't miss. And so to see all of these actors come together from all these other franchises that I've seen as fans, be exchanging dialogue with me, it was just it was overwhelming and really just so satisfying, because truly, there's not one bad apple. I know every movie says that. We all get along so well, but they're just saying that because they probably hate each other. We truly all get along so well. There really isn't one bad apple.
Now, there was one day we were on set, and we were doing this scene that's in the trailer where we're all running into battle and Sebastian's hair's doing this and shit. And it does that, it does. And, all of us are on set, and it's just like 40 superheroes. And I look to my right, and I see Tom Holland and...
That might be the only problem on that movie.
Are we done? All right. Are we? Thank you. I see Tom Holland and Dave Bautista. Scream for that guy, not Tom Holland. I see the two of them over in the corner, and Tom is literally the size of Dave's leg, right? So I don't know what they're talking about, but Batista jumps up and does like a kick punch move.
Superman punch. He's teaching him how to.
And
do
I was like,
Superman
"Yo, you're about to kill him! What are you doing?" So I run over. I'm like, "What's going on?" And then you see Tom try to do it, and it's like, And it's just there were so many different moments like that on set where you see people just do stuff where you step out of it and you're like it's like you're a voyeur in a way, like you're a spectator. So things like that are a lot of fun, like things with Chris over in the corner doing stuff.
That day was really fun. I know the day you're talking about. That day was truly, you'll see. It was a great day with a lot of great people, and it was overwhelming and really humbling.
It is amazing how Marvel doesn't miss. I mean, I think the odds are the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. 2 years before that film comes out, if you say to somebody, "How's this movie going to do?" most people would not have thought that. I mean, those characters don't even have a lot of traction in the comic book world. So it's pretty phenomenal. And Black Panther coming up, everybody's pretty excited about that.
How good is that trailer? That trailer is so good.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Maybe that's it. Like they always understand the tone of every character and kind of the movie and how it applies. And that was probably the tricky thing about this movie, is just kind of blending all those tones and how every character's separate individual world kind of comes together.
It's pretty extraordinary. I mean, there's really never been anything like it. I mean, the Universal monster films of the 30s and 40s, those characters would overlap sometimes, but nothing like Marvel. I mean, there's no precedent for it. And I guess it's a testament to Kevin Feige in a lot of ways that the trains keep moving and they don't derail.
That's the thing. There's not enough time in this movie for you to not see some face you care and recognize, in every second or frame of the 2.5 hours that it's going to be or whatever.
Yeah,
but I'm waiting at some point in time when all this is said and done and we're old and doing a soap opera. I want, for IMAX to show all the Marvel movies in sequence, over a weekend, Because I think it would be really cool to see how those characters track in and out and see the entire universe through the course of all the movies.
Yeah, and it tracks so well. I mean, really, there's only one scene in any of the movies that now you have to act like it didn't happen. It's when Tony Stark, shows up at the bar at the end of Hulk. Yeah, it's the only one that doesn't make sense.
Well, that was Hulk.
Yeah, he was just drinking.
Yeah,
he was just drinking. So, in Black Panther, also one of the things too is we're seeing the expansion into. I mean, that soundtrack looks like it's going to be phenomenal. I mean, I'm not sure there's any Marvel movie with that ambitious of a soundtrack, which, Guardians of the Galaxy, previous hits, but this is new stuff. So that's exciting.
To get Kendrick Lamar to do your title cut, that's I'm like, I just want to be in the video.
Yeah.
All right.
And then
I do. Y'all tweet that Anthony Mackie wants to be in a video with Kendrick Lamar. I met Kendrick last week, by the way. Yeah.
You're really making a push, aren't you?
We was hanging out. We went to the national championship game together. Me and Kendrick. I was out there when he was performing and everything. Yeah. Tweet that.
This is kind of a goofy question, but how many shields are there on set? Because I imagine you have a throw-in shield, you have a...
There are a lot. And I didn't realize, one of the prop guys just told me the average life of one of the shields is 4 days on set. After 4 days, they get a new one in there, just wear and tear of apparently me just being irresponsible or something. I mean, just bumping it into things. They don't want any chips or scratches or dings, so... The actual shields, the actual real heavy ones, which are a nightmare to use, they burn through them pretty quick because they want it to be perfect. But then there's a series of rubber ones that, when I gotta hit somebody with it,
With a metal shield.
yeah, you break some teeth.
Because then you go through villains every 4 days.
That's right.
You don't
That's
get chip a tooth, they're out.
Pretty much.
And Anthony, what have you learned about flying? What can you tell me? What's your sort of approach to flying as an actor? Like, what do you have to do? What do you have to make sure you don't?
Second unit.
It's a very good question. No, it's very difficult, and I've requested not to land anymore.
Oh, landing's tough.
Because that's nothing about us
I've
know
seen
how
those
to
little
land.
gag reel.
Yeah, it's never easy. Brothers don't land well, so that's my whole thing. It's pretty much me, and when I'm about to land, they put me down softly, put the stuntman up, and he lands. Because otherwise, I'm in concussion protocol every week.
They take you behind the tent.
That's pretty much it.
That's great. And then Sebastian with the arm. Was that?
My favorite thing to always say is I'm like, is that a new arm? Is that because I never know how many of them they have. I mean, they have like, I think there's a few as well, but that's been its own evolution for
Why
the
don't you
last
talk about your
13
arm
years.
process, man?
I know what you want me to say about it, and it is KY jelly. I mean, that's what you want to say. You want me to talk about.
The people want to know about your arm process. I didn't say KY. How many parts is it? Is it movable? Is it comfortable?
it's
How much
one
KY
arm.
jelly?
How much
one.
KY jelly does it take to put on a Winter Soldier
You
arm?
take the KY jelly home with you.
I mean,
No,
what do you do with it?
I don't. I bring it with.
Do they spend a lot of time?
no.
Do they spend a lot of time trying to find you in the KY jelly? I mean,
There's-
the people want to know.
There's 4 people helping me with it, so that's a lot to work with, But
You have 4 arm men, people, 4 arm.
and women. I mean, men and women that are there, together. So.
It's a KY casserole. That's what it is. That's his arm.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it used to be like 2 different pieces, and then over the years they've figured out a way to kind of make it all into one, it's just the guys at Legacy are unbelievably talented with that. I don't know how they make it happen.
You just feeling there's a warehouse somewhere just full of shields and arms. These are like all the refuse.
And Iron Man armor and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, let me ask you guys also. You can't say too much about Infinity War, but you mentioned one day that you thought was pretty cool with all the people there and everything like that. But is there one thing about maybe your characters, not plot-wise, more about where they're at, that you can give us a little just kind of flavor of? And you have a beard in the film, isn't it?
Yeah, I had a beard. I got a beard. They gave me the beard. I'm so happy about that. I think there's it's always tricky because I know there's a lot of purists who kind of want, Cap to look a certain way, and even the colors in the suits. I remember even with Winter Soldier, the suit being that stealth suit, the navy suit, which I loved.
It brought your eyes out.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, made them pop. Made them go back and watch that movie. They pop.
Versus that first Avengers suit, which it was not one of my faves. No, but so to try and discuss whether or not we let the look deviate from the origin. Went through a few discussions, but it was really nice that they let that happen, and it lends itself to the arc and to what he's going through. I got to be careful. I don't want to give too much away. It's tricky. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice for that film to kind of have not just a different look, but a different headspace.
Yeah.
Because he's going through a lot.
Stuff's happened, I mean, I think the conflict with him and Tony, took its toll. I think Cap really valued that friendship, and I think he's always had to cope with loss. I think in his nature is to put himself last and to think of the greater good, but I think losing that friendship affected him. Yeah.
And struggling not to be cynical, probably.
Yeah.
At some level.
Yeah.
What about you guys? Just like a sense of like where your character's at headspace going into this next film.
I mean, I think for me it's just more again about trying to win people's trust and find out who your allies are, going forward. I mean, that's still, where he's at. And I don't know about you. Where are you? I mean,
I'm chilling. Sam was in Jamaica waiting for the call.
Yeah.
No, it's coming off such a huge battle that these characters are coming off of. Everybody's trying to find their footing again. Everybody's trying to figure out where they are and how they'll be accepted and looked upon, not only by the rest of the world, but by the other heroes since we've been separated. So that's kind of the overall idea of, where we're coming from and how do we get out of that and save the world.
And then, in the comics, Falcon he started in a green costume, but then he had that great
The red.
The red and white's like awesome. I had the
with the
Migo.
V-cut all the way down there.
Yeah. So
I'm pushing for it.
Haven't you been pushing for that? Yeah.
I'm pushing for it. I've been asking for spandex for 8 years. They won't give it to me.
maybe in the Kendrick video.
Yo.
Come on, there you go.
There it is.
But did any of you guys grow up reading comics, or I know obviously you've immersed yourself and kind of tapped into it.
I
But
feel so bad saying I didn't.
But
It's always so heartbreaking admitting to that I never really. I've read them all now. I mean, now
Right.
I think all of us have kind of done our homework, but I didn't grow up reading them. No.
the interesting thing about comic books, there are only 4 comic books today that sell over 100,000 copies annually.
that's
Like,
unbelievable.
I think it's the new Batman. The little Tom, Spider-Man.
Little Tom.
Little Tom. It's Spider-Man and 3 other ones. They're the only ones that sell.
I don't even
annually.
know what the stat. Like I wanted to know what the other ones are.
No. I'm not gonna give it to you. Look it up. It's
Well,
worth Google.
it's an intriguing situation because as the superheroes fly bigger than ever in video games and film,
Right.
and television, and every medium, the core original medium is not doing very
Yeah, they just canceled Luke Cage.
Yeah.
they,
Guardians of the Galaxy was canceled before the movie came out.
Guardians of the
It
Galaxy.
hadn't been a comic book in 2 years when that film came
Yeah.
out.
Oh.
Well, it has to
Nobody-
do with
nobody
distribution.
buys them.
A lot of them has to do with distribution too. You used to be able to buy them in 7-Elevens and stuff. Now you
Right.
can't. You have to go to comic book shops, and it's difficult. And those comic book shops haven't necessarily been very inviting to new readers, especially women, I think.
So everybody, the moral of the story is buy comic
Go
books.
buy some comic books.
Buy some comic books.
If you look at the peak sale, Captain Marvel in 1945 was like the best-selling comic book, and it was 10 million copies. So it's way back in 45.
People did
But
stuff
there's no
back
TV.
then like read.
Well, there was no television either.
Yeah.
There was no video games. People used to read Captain America, but now they play them in the video game. Or
Right.
They play with the action figures. I wanted to ask you guys, who has the best action figure of themselves? Do you guys collect your action figures?
Yeah.
Who has the best action figure,
What are you
fella?
talking about? You would have to be an idiot to wait your whole life to have how few people can say they have an action figure? You come in my house, I had a whole curio. I autographed them for myself. I'm like, I love it. I got posters. I got everything. I'm in Marvel. That's I'm doing it.
Could we get you to do a review of your fellow actors' action figures? What's wrong with them? That would be awesome sometime. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Do you have a Captain America view? That's got to be a weird feeling to look down at yourself and you're in your
My
hand.
mom has them all. My mom,
Yeah?
like our attic is like a shrine at this point. Yeah. She goes out of her way to really try and.
She goes, you look a little strange in this one. Did she ever?
And then sometimes you go. Have you guys done that thing where you go down to like where they actually have all the figures? It's somewhere in New York where you got to go and sign a bunch of stuff.
No, we weren't invited
The
to
Marvel.
No.
Okay.
No. Keep going.
It's like the Marvel headquarters where they actually make the toys.
Yeah.
You gotta shake a bunch of hands of people who work really hard, but you get to see just like an arsenal of action
Yeah.
figures that really make you a kid again. And kind of wish you could just grab a few.
They've gotten so much more sophisticated than
Yeah.
when I was growing up. I
Yeah.
feel like the action figures. I wish I had them when I was a kid like that.
Because my first one looked like Billy D. Williams. Like Lando Calrissian in
a
a
bad
Falcon
thing?
suit.
What did you just say? His last name was?
Calrissian.
Say it again.
Calrissian.
Oh, okay, all right. I don't know if that's what you said. That was Parisian.
Nah, man, what are you talking?
Someone recorded that. You can
Tweet that. Tweet
sounded
that.
like Lando.
Lando.
I heard an extra
Calrissian.
syllable. I heard an extra syllable.
Calrissian.
Okay. All right, I got you.
But they've improved on them since then? You're feeling better about your action figure?
Oh, yeah, because I actually was able to tell them, yo, it looked like Billy D. Williams. Stop. And, because he had like this Jerry curl afro and like the facial hair was gangster. And I was like, nah, don't do that. Just make him look, go to nondescript, brother. Don't go to like like old Billy D. At
Empire
least go
Strikes
young
Back.
Billy D. Colt 45 Billy D, you know?
He sings the blues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? But it got better. Now it actually looks like me.
If you think of the movies that you've done that aren't superhero movies, it'd be so hard to imagine action figures being made of those. Like, you know, like it is an unusual thing. If you make a superhero movie, you get an action figure. That's
I don't know. Papa Doc action figure would be pretty cool. That might actually be really cool.
it'd be cool to see what comes with it.
Yeah.
Right.
It'd be very fun. You know, one of the things, Chris, you know, because the first Captain America film obviously was set in World War II, and I thought it did such a great job of capturing that time. It's so hard to imagine now with all the things going on, but it'd be great to see another Captain America movie set in that period.
Yeah, that was, you know, that was one of the things I liked the most about that first movie, and that Joe Johnston is so good at bringing to life, is that period. It really has, it just kind of aligns itself with an adventure vibe, you know. It's real Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of tone. And,
Which he worked on. you know?
yeah, and the score was great, and yeah, I that was the one thing I wish we could have kind of explored more, is Cap in his element in the 40s. You know, back when, you know, him and Bucky were kicking it, and, you know, really getting the Howling Commandos. And,
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be hard to do
would've been
now.
fun.
Just-
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of impossible to do now, but
Yeah.
yeah, that would have been cool.
Fantastic. And I would think, if this isn't too goofy, that for you guys, it must be so exciting to walk around Comic-Con and see people wearing your costume, wearing a costume that you've made popular. Just like Halloween, I imagine, you know, it must be a very special day for you guys. Because to see little ones wearing your colors.
Nothing makes me happier than a fat Iron Man. Nothing. That is like, that's why I do this. Like, every time you go to San Diego and you see like a half put together fat Iron Man with like a 24-ounce beer, he's like, "Rrr." Like, that's it right there.
Well, that sounds like my typical weekend, so I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I would think to see a white Falcon or a black Captain America is a pretty special thing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, like, I mean, because
Definitely.
that's when things really kind of connect, and you see like.
Well, there's a lot of Winter Soldier ladies out there, so that's
Lot of
also that sometimes
Wait,
look
what?
better
I can't hear
than
it up here. The
the
sound
Winter
is
Soldier.
terrible. What did he say?
He said there's a lot of female Winter Soldiers because men don't like to dress up.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
Thor's family's here. Well, that must be pretty great. So, well, I'll tell you what, guys. You know, a lot of the people here today are super, super excited to see you, and a lot of them are wearing your colors, and a lot of them are going to be waiting in line to see your next movie. And I think that they want to say thank you and tell you what a treat. It's been so very nice talking to the three of you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you. And
Yeah.
thank you guys.
Thank you.
For
Thank
the
you,
support.
guys.
Thank you for the support.
Chris Evans, Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan. Gentlemen, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ace Comic Con.
Bring me